Hey y'all. Um, you know, I'm sure people trying to worry about the weather. The weather is out there and um, these are gonna be this is the start of the season. You know, we kinda here in Atlanta we kinda slid by in Georgia with the cold, the super cold and the and the snow and it's thought we was getting by through January. Here it is. So no worries. We stay with God and let Him determine what we do. And to those who don't have enough, I hear all this preparing and trying to get things together, and that's good. I used to be a prepper myself. If you can do it, if you can get it, get it. But don't overwhelm yourself with it. If those, we're in the times where we don't have a whole lot. I mean, I know myself. God will provide for me, and I'm not saying that. Oh wow, I'm just gonna pray here and not do anything. No, if there's a need, then I would ask, and that's what you got to do. A lot of times, people, you know, I try to talk about the narc abuse and targeting, and I learned a long time ago when I was a child that I would drive myself in anxiety trying to figure out should I have asked. I wanted to do that, and then um, someone had told me, there's nothing wrong with asking. Even the Bible says to ask not, seek you should find. So a lot of times, and this isn't just narc abuse, we're afraid to ask, or we just get tired of hearing the no's, those who've been targeted. And we have to open our minds to ask. And what that person was telling me is basically there's only two things that they could say. Two things, either yes or no. So when you ask the question, yes, they can do it, no, they can't. And if they say no, then you just go to somebody else, or you just believe that God is going to open up another way. And that's when you've done what all you could do. Just stand. So, do what you can as far as your goods, your waters, layer up. I'm not going out there. So, whatever you're doing, be safe. Let the blood of Jesus be upon you. I come on just a little bit. I know I need to put more content out there, but I'm also meditating with the Most High. It's good to have a balance in life that you're getting in with Him, and that has to be your number one priority when He's talking to you. You want to be attentive, and you have that time and that space. You can do it. I'm not. You do what's best for you. But a lot of times we're on the go, including myself. I'm always on the go and doing things or working. And so we want to bring that time to Him. And I think this was a perfect time because of the storm or what have you, the ice storm. And, hey, I come from Chicago. I mean, when I was a kid, they didn't shut nothing down. I'm telling you, like, we would have snow, like almost 6 inches. And they said, well, if it get 8, then y'all stay home. And me, my brothers and sisters be praying, said, 8. And then they be like, nope, y'all got to go to school. so, so I mean, this is something, we do take precautions with things, but, I'm used to just going on and walking to school in 6 inches of snow. So, you know, that ain't saying I'm tough, but I'm just saying, the ways today that tells us that our economy doesn't have enough. Back then they didn't care. Go to school. The education is more important now. They kind of look on resources like, hey, this is a time to save on resources instead of just go ahead and educating the kids and do what they needing to do. So I understand, um, you know, but don't be afraid, to ask, and that's one of the hard things with being targeted. Well, with me, you know what I mean. My belief is, when you're under those constraints of people not being able to help you, because of the slander, if you're dealing with that kind of abuse from narc abuse, you know, we still have to trust and believe in the Most High, but we have to use wisdom. We have to know that we have this going on, and it's not necessarily you need to say it to other people, but you look out for them. You got that going on, and so it's all about educating the person and letting them know, hey, I got this going on. So if that's a problem for you, so we have to kind of remind people, somewhat, not always, of our targeting, because we don't want that to be our everything, because that helps the narc thinking that they can continue to control us. So we don't want to be controlled, and that includes the system. These narcs are everywhere. You know what I mean? We're dealing with, I think since the pandemic has gotten worse, that we dealt with people that are entitled, that have a spirit of pride, and they basically don't respect boundaries. And when you have someone that does that, there's ways that you can talk to them and tell them, hey, back up. You know what I mean? And certain people, they just think, when you're dealing with a narcissist, they believe that they're hidden in plain sight, that nobody knows what they're doing, that they can just get away with talking to people and using people, because narcissists use people as supply. That's what they call them, the supplies, the people, the flying monkeys that help them. They use them, and when they're using them, it's all for their own benefit. After they get where they're at and what they want, they discard them, and and then it runs that cycle again of here they are again. You know what I mean? And you really have to use discernment with these people. We have them everywhere. They sitting up in our White House right now. So, when dealing with them, you just kind of get to where you're going. You're being the lead on whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? That's the better route of it. You're controlling the conversation, whatever they're talking about. If we're talking about other people, no, we reiterate, oh, that's good, but we're talking about you. That's the better way to deal with a narcissist. And there's different levels of narcissism. The narcissist, I said narcissism. I'm making my own words. There's different levels, and when you're dealing with them, you don't always have to be arguing with them. You know what I mean? A lot of times I deal with them now that I know what it is, and I've been knew what they are for 10 years now. And now that I understand that, I understand there's certain ways that you deal with them, especially when they're in the workplace, you know. After they get through whatever they ever, now I'm finna tell you what this is. And that's how you kind of gotta be. I encourage people who've been targeted to get in a place where you're not letting them control you. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of them, that's what their goal is, to control you. And when you're dealing with a covert narcissist, they have nothing else to do. You know what I mean? They're the two-faced. They don't want to be the bad guy in front of you. And you have to remind them that, we, like I said, I'm not into talking about people. I understand your situation or what have you, but that's why we do. Let's just pray about it. You reiterate, we're gonna pray about this person, and that's a better way of doing it. If you are a prayer or a Christian, or we don't want to be slandering people. We don't want to be talking about people. We just want the peace, and that's where we need to be. So when you've been targeted, you still have to go for your opportunities. God still has a blessing for you. I encourage those who's experienced narc abuse to get in with Christ, because he's the healer of it. He can heal a broken heart. He can heal any hurt, any offenses. That's what the blood was for, that he shed on the cross to heal these things, to heal these ones. You can ask the Lord to heal every increment of your heart. That if you've been brokenhearted, someone have hurt you, you can ask the Most High to heal every increment of your heart, so you don't have any heart issues with people, and it's a bit better, and it helps you to forgive them. So, because you don't want that festering in your spirit. This person hurt me. They did me wrong. You're the bigger and better person, and repenting and asking God help heal every increment of my heart. This person has hurt me. This person has done me wrong, or I felt. Or God, this is how I feel. Is this so? Because it could be, you may be emotional. As women, we can be, but not always. So that's where you ask the Most High to heal every increment of my heart, because there's a lot of hurting people out there. Because hurt people, they do hurt people, but sometimes it's just those who have the anointing, we are able to detect it. And when we detect it, we just continue to pray. A lot of people who experienced narc abuse and had to go into a high ranking narcissist that decided to turn it, which is a malignant narcissist, but it turns into gang stalking, where they're just overly obsessed over you. They're pretty much a witch. They become witches and warlocks. They start to do demonic surveillance over you. And this is what I'm talking about spiritually. Okay. There's a physical sense of the narc abuse, and then there's the spiritual aspect that people aren't aware of. The spiritual aspect, it says that what's over a period of time of someone continue to watch you. When I say demonic surveillance, I mean that this is something that you're not wanting. You don't need anybody to, if that's not your children or someone that you're expecting, your comings and goings, stalking you everywhere you go, trying to keep up with whatever you're doing. That's demonic surveillance. You're not needing that. So when you have that going on, you pray against it. That's what I do at night, because I'm trying to explain what I'm doing, because I have to break it down. Because with the targeting, those who know, I'm speaking about it as for Freemason. Their whole goal is either you come with me or you be targeted. And so that's their gimmick of trying to get you in with them, or whatever they're asking. And so that's why we talk about these things, on my channel, excuse me. It helps you understand who you're dealing with. You know what I mean? You're not to fear. You're not to fear. When you demonic surveillance over a 6-month period, those are called blind witches. When they say, hey, go see if that girl over here, that guy over here, that not just, I'm not saying, okay, I'm trying to go outside. You see somebody, that I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about someone who repetitively has to keep up on you every single move. And that's what a witch does. They study you and they try to keep up with you. And warlocks, they want to know what's going on with you. They feel like they need to stay on you. Now, if you continue to do this, and after 6 months, you are a witch. That's what makes you a witch. So now you become anxiety ridden. You're trying to figure out, why do I feel, that person comes in the room. You're trying to figure out, why do I feel like this? Because the energy that you have with you, this is of a devil, satanic spirit. So now you feel, every time that person come in, I'm scared. So now you're believing anything what they were saying about you. You're believing it now. So whatever they were saying about that person that you were watching, now you are bewitched. Now you believe, because that's the spell that was casted upon you. Now this is spiritually. When we deal with gang stalking or any of those things, we're not, you don't come to the police with those things. You realize that when you have those kind of things going on, you can't talk to the police because they can't write down, okay, she's a witch. So we can't talk about those things. The spiritual aspect, we talk about the physical. So if you got someone that you feel is watching you, that's called aggravated stalking. I mean, well, the stalking is that they're following you. I take that back. If they follow you where you're going, that's aggravated stalking. And it isn't something that you can do, but it is something that's against the law. Stalking you and watching, trying to keep up with your move is a form of stalking. So that's how you would write that up. Don't say they watching me, that stuff. No, you're being stalked. And so we're not mentioning witches, because I'm trying to tell you how to talk to the police officers when you're dealing with them. And when you first deal with them, you have to understand that you got to know, if are we talking to someone who is legit police officer? People are wondering why I haven't. In the past, I have. I didn't know what I needed to know, what I'm telling you. So this is a help to someone else. It can work and it does work, but don't give up. And so that's what I'm saying. When I started this, I didn't know that I was talking to a Freemason cop. So if you got somebody that's trying to initiate you into Freemason, or, they're in the occult and they're in on that same occult, more than likely they're going to be in with them. So you have to make sure and know, because the way that you would know, mostly if they have tactics. A lot of the occult, they have things to prove and show that they are part of that occult. Mostly with hand signals and color coding. So that's something you got to know about them. You have to know, are you really talking to a police officer? Is the number on their badge and the name match up? You know, are you renting a cruiser? Because a lot of times they can rent a cruiser from another county. And, what I believe has happened to me, I'm sitting here going after the police that was after me, Marietta Police, because I live in Georgia. And it turned around that they can switch up and go wherever county you at. So you sitting up here making reports about Marietta Police, and so that's where they try to get you to look insane, because you ain't know they done went to a whole nother precinct. So you got to know who they are, get the name and the badge, and they may do things to say they ain't. But it just happens, and this is just ways you can report things. You don't have to take things. If I would have known that sooner, I think my problem wouldn't even be this much. If I would have known that, if I would have, who I was talking to was actually a Freemason cop, I sure would have had a little more help. So I'm sitting up here handing over evidence to somebody that that's trying to destroy it. So you want to always make sure, and they do things to try to keep you from talking to proper legal citation. That's kind of my problem here. Like, I'm trying to dig through the barrel of people who could actually help me. And, and that's what I'm saying. That's all I've been looking for all along is pretty much legal help. And, even my own family members or people who had came down here to even just tell the truth, and they won't. So you're dealing with people who when you're talking about gang stalking, you're dealing with people who are pretty much about the hustle. They're trying to make you their Sims. Y'all know the little game Sims. They want to know everything they need to know about you and try to make it like some form of a hustle. And your every way of life is pretty much turned around for those who are new on my channel. With them, the people who are in the occult, they're wanting something for nothing, and they're trying to use you as their way of trying to get things. Like say that you're, you know, saying that you're extremist or targeting an individual, and so they think if I say this now, I can go sell drugs, or I can human and sex traffic. I don't know what their means and rhymes, but it's usually in those three categories, and that's where they turn to the system and ask, "Hey, can I get a grant? Because we have a target individual. We got extremists." And they were um, getting upset about me having my avatar with my shirt. That was my shirt. That didn't say Hebrew. But that's my national identity. But I had that there as a reminder to keep fighting for the justice, and that's what had happened to me after I came out the hospital. When you go to these places, um, your targeting doesn't stop. I mean, that's how you know that they have pushed it everywhere you're gonna be, and that's why they have to know and watch you everywhere you go. They want to put the color coding out there. Um, it's just been a mess. You know what I mean? That there's so many hands here, and that's where they claim it's hard for you to get out of it. But even the getting in, the Most High told me, He said to live. So even though people compare and say you ain't where you should be, and that's how they want it. You got several people who come down here who believe that whoever you are, we're changing it. We're gonna make you who we want you to be, even though I was a mother and a wife to my kids. I'm not to my kids, but I was married at the time. So I mean, because really they're saying that if you're married, that you shouldn't be a target. But that's a part of the occult. And I'll talk about that, like the things in Freemason. They have the ones that break in order to get initiated. They break the family up. I mean, they'll break up the husband and the wife. And so I'll talk about that some other time. But these are things that people have to be aware when you're dealing with people who have the worst information about Freemason. And that's why I'm doing that on my channel. I'm not glorifying Freemason. I'm not saying, do you want to be in? I'm saying to the people who come here on my channel, whether they're trying to harass me or the people who try to stalk me and keep up with me, you sure you want to be a Freemason? Because I do my research in it, and my research says, like the man said, you have to prick your finger and write in the book of the black book. You see, they're trying to take the doctrine of the Most High and be in the book of life. You see, the stuff that's misconstrued on people that don't know Christ. They're not knowing God, and that's what people do when they feel that they want to just do what they want to do. That's how we have these different occults, different groups, religious groups, and that's where you always want to stay in the Bible. And the Freemasons, they still have a King James Bible. So, they still read and have the same doctrine, but they don't live it. And that's what I'm saying. You can't just talk about the Bible. Anybody could do that. Satan did that. You have to live it. So when Satan was telling the Most High in 40 days and 40 nights what to do, you know what I mean? He said, if you dash your foot off against a stone, won't the angels gather you? He was trying to get him to jump, I think, to take his life, unalive himself. That's how I read it. And so, no, you're never to do what Satan is calling you to do. Now, when the Most High tell you to do something, you better do it. You better do it. So, I'm just talking a little bit about that to those who are new on my channel, what I do here, just to enlighten people about narc abuse. And because they try to say that narc abuse and gang stalking, they're not the same thing, and they are. When you're dealing with a narc, they're very scared of you, no matter what level, whether they're malignant, a covert, or overt. A lot of times when you stand up to them, they're fearing them. That's where they feel like they have to attack you or shame you in some way. And that's where we have all this stuff going on here, especially in the media. You know, we're dealing with people who are spiritually bound, and they're not knowing it. They don't understand that you really have to get in with the Most High. There's only one God, and He's the only one that's going to save you, that's going to deliver you, and the feeling in it. So when I listen to other people talk about their religion, I hear them out, and then when I hear them out, I listen to them. When I ask questions, I see, are they offended? You know what I mean? Are you offended by what I'm saying? Even though I'm telling you something in the word, even though you probably been out there for 30, 40 years, you may be older than me, but we talking about the Bible. And that's what God was saying, that you got to test the spirit. You know, when people are talking to you about the word of the Most High, you know, we want to make sure that not only we reading, but understand what we're reading. And that's was a hard thing for me, you know. I really want to know, what am I reading? I just read something. I don't know what that means. Thus thou, said the Lord. I don't know what all that means. So that's where I do more. I'm going to do more to break scripture down so I understand what God is saying, because He wanted in the simplest form, and that's what made me decide to come fully to Christ. Is I understand now, because nobody was really breaking it out. It's just about me hearing from the preacher and what he said, and this is what he said, versus going and having my own fellowship and relationship with Christ. And that's how you defeat any problem in your life, because the Bible is the book of life, and that's where we're going to be. So, I'm just on here for a little bit. I don't ever see nobody in my comments. It's just too much, but, like and subscribe. I'm trying to do a little more fun and outgoing things, because I like to do things and have fun. But I realize I don't want to offend people. You know what I mean? Some of the things that I do, it may offend people, but I'm that's why I'm waiting on it. I'm waiting on how to deal with it. And it's all about laughing. If you offended a little bit, you know what I mean? Maybe that might be you. But this is great, because a part of you can get right with Christ. Because I know a lot of the ones that hate on me, they on here. You know what I mean? When I get on at night, I know it. I can tell, because that's just how life is. Whether they hating on me, just go ahead and like and subscribe. It's nothing to it but to do it. So that's all I say with that. you know so y'all, I'm enjoying this time off. I was supposed to work. And I'm getting my content and things together, because I know I'm not doing the singing too much. I I gotta feel it. If I don't feel it, and a lot of times, and I'll tell you the truth, I'm not singing to my highest potential. I'll tell you that, because I realize, I got people who will take my content, and and I'm not saying in a negative way. You share it, no big deal. But I got people who literally hate me, and that's comes with the cost of serving Christ. And you see, I'm smiling about it, because that's an energy that I'll never take. It's hatred. You know what I mean? That's too much energy for me to put on somebody. If I don't like them, I stay away from them. You know what I mean? And, unfortunately, the law has created it where they can aggravatingly stalk me for the moment, just for the moment. But you know what I mean? So I'm going to keep on. I'm going to get on off. And yeah, hopefully you'll see me tonight. Hey, I get my rest in. You know what I mean? And I'll be talking to the Most High and praying. And hopefully for you. May the blood of Jesus be with you. And God bless y'all. Hopefully I see y'all tonight.